Hey everyone, welcome to the weekly work session held here by GetOiling. We're very happy that you're here. Coach Ashley is not around today. She's traveling somewhere. So it'll be the three of us here, myself and Kim and Amanda, if you want to say hello.
Hello and good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's session. And it is a great day. The sun is shining in Fargo, North Dakota, so I am happy.
Good morning, guys. Like Amanda said, we're super excited. We have a south wind coming, so we get to warm up. It's not going to be negative 20 degrees out this weekend, so that's exciting. And I am excited for the topic today because it is a constant topic that we hear about kind of over and over, especially in the email support tickets. And I think that even if you have an idea of how to manage your contacts and things like that, is a good refresher to just really get a good a wrap around that part of our system. So Greg, excited? Take it away.
All right, I'll take it away here. But first, I've got slides. I actually made these myself. Normally, Ashley does these, so I'm doing it a little bit differently, but they should still look pretty similar. So yes, here we go. All right, are you seeing my slides?
Yes,
not quite as
great.
fancy as Ashley's because they got this other stuff on top, but I'm doing the best I can here. So anyway, so today's topic is turning your contacts into an asset, which of course I'm sure if you're listening to this call, that's probably one of the things that you're wanting to achieve with your contact manager and your contact list. Take the people that you know, your network, and put it to use for you, basically. So welcome. First, this is an outline of what I'll be going through today, and then we'll do Q&A at the end. There'll be some prompts here for that as well. So why organize, of course, we'll start with that, and then step through like the various stages of getting organized and move to Q&A after that. So first of all, you got to get your contacts into GetOiling. There's a couple ways of doing this. We'll cover this. This session probably won't be super deep on like individual topics, because we've done some videos on those. Of course, if you have questions, whatever, put them in the Q&A. We'll do our best to answer them at the end. But we'll cover just enough to give you kind of an overview and get you started in the right direction. Of course, the system has help in the corner, that green question mark where you can click and get some help for that specific page. So anyway, starting out with getting your contacts into GetOiling with importing and manual entry is a couple of options. Organizing your contacts, there's a few ways of doing that: tags, filtering, and the tree viewer. Tracking your contacts, whatever that might be in there, whether it's the contact information itself, their name and email address, and if they're a member of yours, a sponsor and enroller. Background information, you can add past actions of what you've done, what they've done. Progress, this is contact progress is something that not a lot of people use, but it's a cool feature if you're tracking somebody's goals over time, if you're working with somebody or a small group of people closely. And then files, if you have files attached to their contact, you can keep track of those too. Then we got the reminders and the automatic outreach in the system, which is contact ratings. So those are probably the simplest thing. That's the simplest thing to do, is rate a contact. And then you've got to-dos where are a little more complicated, but they remind you, follow-up plans, and then campaigns as well. Next, we've got messaging, whether it's email or text, both of which are included in GetOiling. And then sending to the right people, which is important as well, using tags or the tree viewer in the system. And of course, there's the member area, which we'll touch on briefly. There's whole hour-long trainings on just that. We'll just touch on the basics of that here. And then, of course, a couple of tiny, exciting new features that I want to show you, and open it up to Q&A. So that's what we're going to be covering today. So starting with the why organize topic. So if your desk kind of looks like this, and there's probably a few people out there where this might look like your workspace, you want to move from this to kind of a feeling of calm and relaxation, like everything is organized. And of course, then ultimately move to this. From your contacts, that's kind of what we're going to be covering today, like how you take advantage of all the features in the system that let you move along that spectrum. And of course, there's the old cliche, which of course, then your network is your net worth. So that's all important to keep track of here. So anyway, anytime along the way, if you've got questions or you need help, toss it in the Q&A, or the chat, we'll keep watching on that, you know, and then at the end we'll open it up to the Q&A session at the end. So move on to demos. I got to figure out how I share a different screen here. I think I've got this one. Awesome. Okay, so I switched over to the back office here now. And I will be stepping through this. So getting started with the getting contacts into GetOiling. Obviously the very basic thing is if you don't have any contacts in there, you can't really keep track of them. There's a couple of ways of doing this. You know, for those of you who have team members in your GetOiling, or sorry, in your Young Living organization, you can import directly from Young Living. We have some instructions on that. But to import, click on Settings under Contacts, and then click Import. And then there's some instructions here. You choose your file, check the little box, and hit Start Import, and it'll walk you through the process. And you can actually tag on the way through, which is, I'll talk about tagging here in the organization section here coming up in a little bit. Once you've done that, then all of your team members will sort of auto-magically show up in your contact manager here. And then you can work with them from there, you know, whether it's sending them emails or what have you. But if you, you know, there are occasions where you're, you know, maybe out and about and you bump into somebody and maybe they give you their business card or, you know, their phone number or something, and you want to just toss it in your contact manager. The GetOiling back office is mobile friendly. It works. And you can actually add this icon to your phone home screen just as a, you know, a way to essentially have like a little GetOiling app on your phone. So that lets you create contacts on the fly or do whatever you want to. But like, let's say you're on the go, you meet somebody, they give you their name and email or phone number. You go into your contact manager here, click on Manage, and then Create, and then you can just type in your contact information. Now, we do get the question from time to time, like, oh, do I have to type all my Young Living contacts in there? And the answer is no. You can use the import process. And just to be clear, it doesn't have to be imported just from the Young Living Virtual Office. That can work from any CSV file. That's a pretty common format, you know, whether you've got data saved in Microsoft Excel or, you know, Google Sheets or something like that, or maybe it comes from another program. Typically, contacts can be imported in the CSV format. So save you all that time of typing. You don't have to do that, but it is nice to know that it's here if you have to do that on occasion when there's somebody that needs to get manually entered. Now, organizing, this is probably a little bit more where it gets a little bit more fun. So that's where tagging is, I think, primarily or the main way of organizing inside GetOiling. So that's what these little tags are essentially down here, and you have control over that. So you can add any tag that you want to. You click this little pencil icon, or if you're, you know, on one of these pages, it'll go right to the contact or the edit screen that looks very similar to that new contact screen. And over here is the tags. And you can just, if you want to, basically tags kind of at a high level are, you just put some text label on them that helps you remind you what that's for, what it's for. So whether it's, you know, you're tagging them as a business builder, or maybe you met them at an event, or in this case, Facebook prospect, or maybe they're interested in your hormone class, or they came from your landing page, or they're a pet lover. Just all kinds of ideas of ways to organize them so that you can, because once you've got them organized by tags, then you can filter down and just message those people. So if a tag, you know, the first time you come in here, if you're a brand new user, there won't be any tags. It'll say something like there's no tags. So really all you have to do is type something in here, hello new tag, and make sure you click on this. If it looks like the little tag thing here with the little X on there, you're good. It's got, you know, the tag is in there. And then you just come down and save. And so there'll be a new tag. I won't save this one because there'll only be one of those. But so once you've got them tagged, then you can take some actions based on that. Like if you want to filter down on that, you click the filters button here in the contact manager that pops up this little box. And then you've got a couple of options here for tagging, filtering based on tags. So you can filter, like, I want to know all my business builders that were Facebook prospects. You know, I'm just making this up here. But you could choose that and say, I want to match any or all of these. So kind of some advanced options there. But in this case, by putting both of these tags, this is going to say all my business builders or my Facebook prospects. Once you hit filter, then it'll just show you those that are in there. that match both of those. And you can also actually exclude tags. This is useful if you have somebody that that you don't want to, because typically the next step after filtering is to message them or somehow, bulk action on them, whether it's like adding a follow-up plan or a campaign or maybe adding them to a vault. So if there's some people you don't want, that's what this filter box is in here for. So you could say, I want all my business builders plus my Facebook prospects, but I don't want anyone who ever did my 7-day training, whatever. So you can do that. I mean, anyway, so there's some powerful ways of being able to manage and organize your contacts in this specific way. Of course, there's a lot of other options here under filtering. You can search by, just typing things in, your name, the contact rating. I will cover that here in a little while as well. There's also the type, which you can see here is, there's some predefined options, source. Anyway, I won't go into all these, but some of the text fields here, these are interesting in that, they're useful in that you can, so often like what will happen with a city or a state or a postal code, people, your contacts will have mixed data, especially for like states, because some people will be like CO or maybe some people will be Colorado. If you type like a comma in the state box, it'll actually search for either of these, like CO or Colorado. So a couple different options. You can, search by sponsor and enroller, change the sort order. This is useful too. There's some cool options down here for sorting by last activity and my last activity or the contact's last activity, membership anniversary dates, and even search by anniversary dates. So you could, for example, pull up a list of everyone who has an April anniversary and filter by them and send them a card or whatever that you want to do, or maybe send them an email. Those are all different options. So so once you've got them tagged, you can definitely do something with them, and I'll get into what you do with that a little bit later. Now, as far as like, other ways to organize or view your organization. Now, so this view here under the contact manager by default comes into this looks like little contact cards essentially. And this is all of your contacts, whether they're a part of your team or a prospect or whatever, anybody that's in your database basically is in here. Now, if you click on this little icon here that looks like an organization, that's like this, we call it the tree viewer. What this does now, it shows you your, essentially your Young Living organization in a little tree viewer that's similar to the back office. As you can see, you can click and expand here, and these will be, you can basically drill down as far as you want to. We don't have, this demo account doesn't have super depth on it, but it's enough to get the idea. And this is where you can then say message legs or tag legs. This is useful for that. So for example, let's say you just want to message this one leg or you don't want to. So, maybe we check all these other boxes. In this case, I'll just say, I want to message this specific leg. I'll get more into the messaging a little bit, or I want to do something with them. You can select the box, and then there's this actions button. I'll go in more in depth into this in a little bit, but this is where you could mail them or text them or add a campaign. In this case, let's say I would want to mail the entire leg. I can check this box or click this box, and there's a mail the down line. So essentially you can message people, whether it's email or text, on a leg. You can also bulk tag them, which is useful. So if you, under actions, you can click this link here, and you could add a tag to everyone on that leg. And so what that does, that's useful, like if you want to exclude a specific leg, going back to the filter screen. So if you want to exclude somebody, you certainly can, based on the tag too. So the tree viewer is a great way to view your organization. And one other neat little trick is if you don't want to message somebody specifically at the top, you just want to come down here. You can check, say, for example, these two. Let's say if there was more below that and you wanted to message those people, you certainly can. So you don't have to start at the top of your leg. You can just message from wherever you're at. Basically, it starts at the top. Before I move on to the next section, I'm getting there's a couple questions here in Q&A that I think are relevant to this topic right now. So yes, it is possible to export contacts. Karen had asked, can you export contacts from GetOiling? There's a couple different ways. You can do that through the contact manager in two places. So number one, under settings, there's an export button down here where it gives you all of your contacts. But what more often I see people doing, like, there's, for example, there's a lot of tools out there that let you say upload a CSV of addresses, names and addresses, and then you can send like out a bulk postcard that's actually personalized. So there's some really awesome services out there. So you can actually export filtered lists of contacts. So I'll come back in here and do the business builder tag again here. And then under actions, you'd click this add campaign follow-up plan link, and on the bottom, there's an export CSV link. So if you click that, what that's going to do now is going to export selected contacts for you. So you can pull those down and use them however you want to, whether it's moving to another program, or maybe you just put them in Excel, you want to organize them somehow. Different things you can do with that. And another important question here from, I think, both Genevieve and Tony, who said, when you're importing the contacts, will current contacts be updated or duplicated? They are updated. So the way that it works, there's like 2 different ways that it tries to deduplicate. If you have if you're importing from Young Living or basically any file that has a member number in it, it will look up and deduplicate based on member number. If your file doesn't have a member number, let's just say you've got some list of contacts that you came from a vendor show that you did, then it will deduplicate by email address. And there is actually a setting for whether or not you deduplicate by phone number as well. That one can be a little sketchy because sometimes people share phone numbers and you can end up duplicating, but it does its best to not duplicate contacts as you're importing, or one exception is when you manually go create a contact, it does not check for a duplicate at that point. So something to keep in mind. All right, so now that's the organization part here, and then I'm sure there's more than we can cover here in the 10 minutes we've been talking about that. If there's something specific that you're looking for, drop something in the chat, and we'll go from there. So moving on to like tracking information about the contact. Now, I'll go in and so each contact record has a variety of data essentially that you can track about them. And this information is great, like if you're trying to keep in touch with a lot of people, which, a lot of the, many of the training programs out there recommend like, hey, reach out to 10 people a day or 20 people a day or whatever your goal is. And if you start doing that, I mean, consider that like, okay, so if you're reaching out to 10 people a day and there's 30 days a month, that's 300 people in a month. And I don't know about you, but that kind of exceeds my brain capacity to remember all those details. And so that's where the contact manager comes in. It's like your digital brain, so you don't have to remember this sort of stuff. It keeps track of it. Well, I'll just show you here. So I mean, starting out with their contact information as well as like their last activity. Background info is a great option here. It's essentially a notes field. Just type in your notes, save. It saves it to their contact record, and you can even see like their last activity. If you sent them an email or a text or let them into your member area, you can see when they've been active. Oh, back in November 16th, there's a meeting and a task or whatever the case might be, or I had a call. There are, other activity will show up there. And there's also the past actions for tracking, like what did they do? What did you do? Now, emails, let's say you send a bulk email to 50 people, that will automatically show up here as a past action. Okay, so here's an email. It has a little email icon, and you can view or click on these to view the content. It'll show you exactly what was sent to them at that specific time. And then past actions, they're sort of like a history of everything that you've done or they've done, or anything that you've recorded in there. That if you have two-way texting, even their incoming texts show up in there. Otherwise, like sending texts and emails, those show up in there. If they've, I don't know if this contact has one offhand. Let me go through the list and see. It does tell you, okay, here. So like this one shows that the email was opened. There's a little envelope icon, and there's another icon that shows up about whether or not they've clicked the link, any link in that email too. And the same, or it's similar for texting. You can tell there's a little icon that shows up if they've clicked a link inside the text. So it's a great way to see if they're interacting with you. So you can go super in depth with this. You can add your own past actions here, or even filter them, because once you've built up, this person has 11 pages of them, so there's a lot. You can click this little filters button and then filter it down based on the type of past action that the person had. So I want to see all the times I called them or left a note. Okay, cool. Filter. and then it shows just those two actions, or those types of past actions. Like I said, you can also add your own. So you click add, just choose what it is that you want to add, put in an optional note. You can even backdate it. So like if you wanted to go back and say, oh, I did that last Friday or whatever, or, you know, choose your time and done. Called her. Okay. And just hit add. That'll kind of go back in time. I'll probably have to go back to page 1 here to see it, and probably remove my, oh no, that's right. I don't have to, because I've got my filter applied to see it. Here it is. This is the note. There it is. So it's in the record. You can keep track of that. That's a great way to, like, you know, right before our call or right before you reach out to them, pop into your past actions, see what is there, and just kind of refresh your memory. So anyway, so that's past actions. Contact progress is another. Well, let me jump down to files first, because that's a little simpler. If there's any files that you want to attach to the person's contact record, whatever that might be, you can upload them. I think the size limit is, I don't know, 15 or 20 megabytes, something like that. So you can have a decent size files, but you know, it depends on what you're doing. Maybe, you know, maybe it's like a, you know, if you have an in-person event and they filled out a form for you, maybe you want to take a picture of it and put it here as a file so you can view that image later. Just basically anything you can think of. If, you know, if you happen to be also doing, say, for example, coaching or any sort of one-on-one guidance that you're doing with that, and maybe, you know, if coaching is like a business line of business for you, you could put an agreement here or some sort of contract that they signed for services or whatever. Anything that you can really think of that's relevant to the contact, you can keep there. Progress is also kind of along the lines of coaching, you know, kind of that, it has that twist to it. Like if you're working with somebody one-on-one, you can track their progress. And essentially what it is, it's like a little spreadsheet that you can modify. It's very, very open-ended. It's kind of like, yeah, it's kind of like Excel or whatever, where you can put things in there. So like, let's say somebody's trying to measure how many times they're, I don't know, working out in a week. So what would you like to track? Worked out, or number of days working out, or something like that. And then a specific time frame. Let's say it's week 1. Let's say it's a 6-week challenge or something like that. And their number of days worked out in week 1 was 3 or something. And so you choose number, hit add. And you can see here now there's going to be like a little spreadsheet. And then in week 2, you could say, let's add a column for week 2. And now let's say they worked out 4 times in week 2. And then I'll go ahead and save. And you'll have a little grid here of what happened. So, you know, the number of days working out week, you know, you basically have all that. It's another way, it's like a little more structured way of organizing what people have been doing. And there is actually a way through the member area. I won't get into this too much in depth, but if you check either of these boxes where the contact may view or the contact may edit, what this means is inside the member area under the My Account, they'll have access to this at whatever permission level that you want to. So that's useful, like if you have a larger, you know, if you're working with a group of people and you want them to all update their what they've done, you can have them go into there and then just into their member area, update it in advance of whatever meeting, and then, you know, that way they're all up to date. You know what they've been working on. So that's the tracking part of it. Hopefully that was helpful there. So next up, I'm going to move into the, well, actually, let me hop over to Q&A a little bit here to see if there's any relevant questions. All right, so Karen asked, what does the deduplicate phone number mean? What that means, and that's part of the import process. So when you're importing a contact or importing contacts in general, if it doesn't find a match based on email address, it would also then try to look them up by phone number. And if it finds another contact with that same phone number, it will replace that record. So that's helpful if you know that, you know, for example, you're importing from a list that has doesn't have any duplicate phone numbers. Next up, let's see. Let me do a quick scan of these. Maybe I'll address some of these in the later Q&A. Two-way texting. Okay, James asked, if we want two-way texting, do we contact support to get that added? You don't have to do that. Just come up here and click the chat link, and then I'll walk you through that process of setting that up. Marie asked about filtering past actions, why there's 2 text options. That's a labeling issue. I just noticed that one of them is actually supposed to be a little bit different. You'll see here, I think what she's talking about, I'll have to fix that here, but one of them is like a text that they have sent, or that you have, or they've sent to you, or you've sent to them, and the other one is just a note that you texted them, like on a personal phone. So I think one of them, I need to change one of these to say like text note, something like that. So they are slightly different, but that's why there's 2 of them. And question about vaults. Okay, so we'll cover that a little bit later. All right, so moving into the reminders now in the automatic outreach. And so just, quick reminder, we've stepped through the, the organizing, getting your contacts into the system, organizing them with tags, filtering tree, tracking them with the contact and background information, past actions. And actually, you know what? There's one more thing I want to cover here quick. You can edit the contact. This is important because there's a photo on here. When you edit that, you can actually upload a photo right here. There's, this person already has one, so you can remove it first and then add one. But it's definitely a great way to, have that memory recall. I personally work really well. The names are great. Of course, you got to ideally have it both, but if you have a picture, then it's great for recall when you're looking through your contact list, because it does show up like this on your contacts. You get to see their photo. So you can really personalize that and know who you're talking to, which is really nice. Of course, a lot of people have their profile pictures on Facebook, so it's pretty easy to grab those and put them into your contact manager when you have them. So anyway, I wanted to touch on that before I moved on. So we've covered on the tracking. Now the reminders and automatic outreach. This is where you can see this contact has a little flame right next to them. This is the contact rating. This is probably the simplest way to just get reminded about people that you want to reach out to. So what this does, and this rating appears in a lot of places in the system, from the dashboard to each contact here, and I think it even shows up on the digital upline coach, which we've covered in different calls. But if you click on the contact rating, you get to choose between a rating of 0 to 5, and by default everyone's 0, so you don't get reminded about them. But you can choose their frequency, whether it's annual, quarter, monthly, weekly, or every 3 days. Those are your reminder options. And if you rate them highly, what that does now, there's a daily activity email that comes out of the system every morning in the wee hours about with your daily tasks. And it's in the early hours because I know some people are early risers or are in other time zones, and so that's useful there. But anyway, so in that email, there will be a section that says contacts you might want to reach out to, which is also on your dashboard here. So if I click on the contact dashboard, you'll see a section down here that says contacts you may wish to reach out to. And that will show everyone who's had a rating that you haven't done anything on. So like it tracks based on the my last action, whether that's sending an email or doing a past action or whatever, that if you haven't reached out to them in that period of time, it's going to show up here. And then, directly from that email that you get, you can either, it'll come here, and then you can take an action on them right from your dashboard. Actually, you can like skip a reminder, like, oh, I don't want to touch base, it doesn't feel like the right time. Cool. You can send them an email or a text right from here. It just pops up the box, send them an email, and then of course that goes in your contact manager. Same with text. You can also schedule a follow-up right from here, and what that does, it opens a to-do window, which I'll cover here more in a little bit. You can add a to-do for another reminder, or you can even come in here and record some other action, whether that, that's the past action, essentially, like, oh, I want to add a note, or maybe I send them a Facebook message. And then once that's done, then that counts as a past action, and then that makes them go away, at least out of this list, until that amount of time that you have on the rating expires. And you can always change the rating right here if you want to do that. You can click on the little icon and change the rating at any time. So this section here is a super easy way to like start getting reminded about people that you really want to reach out to on a regular basis. Super easy to do. Just click your little icon next to the person's name, the rating icon, and it'll do that for you. So that's probably the easiest. Moving up in complexity are the to-do items. I'll go back to a specific contact here. So every contact has a to-do list that you can attach. You can create sort of one-off to-do items, because that's very effective and useful, for just thinking about, the work that I do. There's often like, oh, I got to reach out to a person, and if I don't hear from them, I got to set a reminder to follow up again. So that's what these to-dos are great for. I mean, they're not just for reaching out to people, but whatever, maybe there's some action that you have to do, like, oh, you have to send them a welcome handwritten note. Maybe that's part of your new member approach, is you want to send them a welcome handwritten note. Awesome. You can add a to-do here, type in send note, choose a date when it's available or when you have to do it. Let's say I'm going to send it out in a week because I know they're going to get their kit or whatever the case might be. You can even add a note to it, like a longer form note if you want to, and then I'll click add and you'll see the to-do item shows up under here. Now, once you've done one, this automatically drops over into past actions, but so I can mark this, I'll just mark this older one off as done, check the box, you'll see it pops up over here under the past actions. So it'll keep track of that automatically that you've already done that. Great to, can maintain that history. But so, adding to-dos individually is nice, and that has its place, but sometimes you have to do that in bulk. So there's a couple of different ways to do that. And let me show you this. Like when you click add, you probably notice the section down here about a follow-up plan. So what a follow-up plan is, it is a group of to-do items that you've arranged in a specific series of dates, so spaced out over time. So for example, let's say every time you get a new member, on day 1, you send them a note. On day, 5 days later, you send them a Facebook message. 10 days later, after that, you send them, I don't know, something else, reach out by, tag them in a Facebook post or whatever that, whatever your outreach plan might be for new members, you can do that. You can basically build it into a follow-up plan. And to create those follow-up plans, that's under contact settings. I'll show you what that looks like. This might make more sense once we see this. But going into the follow-up plans, I'll click on this one here, and it's full of silliness, looks like. But basically it gives you the general idea, like when you add that follow-up plan to a contact, what it does, it creates to-dos that are these many days in the future. So if I would add this follow-up plan to my contact, so tomorrow it would end up, I'd have a to-do item that says call them, and then 2 days after that, or no, not 2 days after that, but these are relative to the day that you add them. So this is tomorrow, this would be 2 days from now, 4 days from now, 5 days from now, and so on. But yeah, basically lets you script those out. I'll go back over here to my contact, and I'll add one. I think there's a shorter one, so it doesn't fill my list up. But I'll do there's a built-in one called quarterly care calls for a year, and I think that adds like 4 to-dos for you. So I'll go ahead and add that here, and I'll show you. You can see what happens. So right now, there's these approximately, every 90 days, I think is what it does on this one. And there's a 4th one here. And then of course it reminds you to add more care calls if that's what you want to do. But it's got, now I've got reminders set up way out in the future. And so again, this is great, even on a 1-by-1 contact basis. But if you have a bigger team, you can do this in bulk as well. So going back under the contact manager, thinking back to what I was talking about filtering, you can filter this down, or you can even select contacts here too. There's a checkbox here in case you didn't see that. You can filter or select down to the contacts that you want to apply this follow-up plan to, and click actions, and then there's this add campaign follow-up plan vault or tags. And this is where you can do some bulk actions here. In this case, a follow-up plan, I could choose the quarterly care calls for 1 year, hit apply. I won't do that here, but what that's going to do, it'll go through and apply that follow-up plan to both of the contacts that I have selected. It doesn't matter whether it's 1 contact or 1,000 contacts or however many contacts you have, it'll go through and apply those, and then you'll start getting the reminders on those that'll show up in your to-dos. And there's even, this is more of an advanced feature, but if for some reason you want to start your follow-up plan later, you can actually choose to defer when it starts, at least up to 30 days into the future. So if you didn't want to start this for whatever reason until 10 days from now, let's say you're going on vacation, you could do that. You could forward date it when you get back, and then it'll start reminding you so you don't get pinged while you're on vacation, or you have to remember to do something when you come back. Just as one example there. But you can, again, you can bulk apply all these other things. I'll be talking about the campaigns here and vaults in a little bit as well. So
you've got some questions about that in the Q&A, Greg.
Oh, awesome. Okay. So let's see here. Is there a way to merge contacts? a couple of people that opted in as a prospect. You have to manually merge them at the moment, edit them both, and then remove the one that you don't want. Question here from Dania. So we can create our own version of follow-up and have it save for every new member. We can pick it. Yes, that's true. So under contact settings, follow-up plans, you don't have to use one of the pre-built ones. If you like that as a model, you can. Any of them may be copied. Excuse me. If you click this copy button here, it lets you duplicate even the built-in ones. You can give it a name and then it'll show up in the list as a new one, or you can just go ahead and create a new one from scratch. Any of these work just as well. So, like here's my new member follow-up plan. So maybe this is kind of along the lines like this one is like every 5 days, but like say you want to move this one out to 20 days, you can move that ahead into the future, and then that'll be 20 days instead of 15 or whatever, and they'll automatically organize around there. And if you use the digital upline coach, there's a whole other conversation. You can actually even assign it a task, like a related task, and then give yourself points for it, for tracking towards your coach. Susan asks, is the follow-up plan part of the campaign that was set up? Campaigns and follow-up plans are separate. Campaigns are about email and text and automatically being sent. Follow-up plans are just reminders to you. So that's a good distinction there. The to-dos and the follow-up plans are just reminders to you. Your contacts do not see those. Any campaigns that you add to a contact, those are sent to, those are automatically sent to people based on whatever the campaign is that you've got set up. And Susan also asked, can it be set up to do it automatically? And I assume, well, I guess I don't know what you mean by automatically, but if it's like automatically on import, no, there's no way to do that that I'm aware of. You'd have to go and you could manually apply them. Like you could, for example, if you want to see after an import somebody who's new, I'll unselect these. You can come in here and sort by, for example, contact creation date, newest to oldest. And what that'll do is put all your newest contacts at the very top of the list, and then you could check those and then send them to people. So
these are essentially more actions that you want to do for the person. Like this isn't like a campaign where you're going to send a message to them automatically. If you want to send a message to them automatically, then that moves into the campaigns versus the to-dos.
Correct. Yep. Yeah. So under my dashboard, any follow-up plan that you add to a contact turns into a to-do, or any to-do that you add also shows up here. There'll be a to-do panel here, and this also shows up in your daily activity email. So that's once you're done, you can check them done. One little kind of pro tip here: we added this based on user request. If you actually click on the to-do instead of just checking the box, when you click done, you can actually check this box to create another to-do when done. And what that's going to do is then mark them as done and then pop up another to-do box. So you can just add a follow-up right away. So it's a great way to like, oh, I touched base with them, they weren't around, so I'm going to add a to-do for next week to reach out to them again. So you can chain those. And a lot of these are like that as well. I think there's similar checkboxes in some of those other areas too. James asked you, if you change something in a follow-up plan, does it change and update the to-dos? Not for existing contacts. It doesn't go back and change those because each one of those is now independent. So, all right. So quickly moving over here to campaigns. What campaigns are, and let me go back to, do I have a contact? Go back to this person here. So campaigns are, we just touched on that, that's they're messages that are automatically sent out. And there's, I think we've done entire trainings on campaigns, but basically you can set them up to automatically message people. They can be either manually added to a contact, like you can see here. I can click add, choose a campaign, hit add. I won't do it because it'll send it. And then it'll start sending that over time. These are also called, like I think drip messages or drip campaigns that, other platforms call them different names, but essentially they drip out information over time. And one of the unique things that we have about our system is because you have both email and text as options built right into the platform. You can set up campaigns to send by email, text, or both. or the contact's preference. So by default, it sends out campaigns by the contact's preference. And what that means is when you're editing the contact here, there is a setting down here that says send campaigns by email or text. By default, that's what it does. And I think when you're adding a new contact, it even defaults it to email. But there's certain cases, like if they register on a landing page or something like that, which is a whole, bigger topic, where they'll have text checked. So that's just something to be aware of. But when you're setting up campaigns, and I'll show you where to do this. Again, I'm not going to go deep into this today in today's session. It's under settings, campaigns, and this is all your lists. There's even a column. This demo account has a lot of campaigns in them. You can see the ones that are pre-built into the system show up with the created by down here. If you like those, or any of the, if you want to duplicate your existing one, there's this little copy icon. A lot of people ask, hey, I kind of like the prospects campaign, but I want to put my twist on it. I want to put my voice in there. So you can just click this copy and give it a name, and it'll make a duplicate of it, and then you can edit it and do whatever with it that you want to. But I'll just show you the inside of, I wonder if I can find one here. I'll just try this one here. So this one has 7 messages in them. And again, this is similar to follow-up plans. You can see they've got this, essentially this send on day. And day 0 means it's sent right away after the campaign is added. And that's a pretty useful feature, especially if you've got campaigns connected to a landing page, which, if somebody registers on a landing page, then it automatically triggers an email saying, thank you for registering, here's your free guide, or whatever it is. But anyway, so you can set up the campaign to drip out messages over time. They don't have to be spaced out every day. You can, much like the follow-up plan, you can space them out however you want to. Now on the premium and higher plan, that's what you're seeing here with this account, there's this advanced features section, and you can actually expand that and choose messages to go out at a specific time of day. By default, they go out, I think, at 5 p.m. Central every day if you don't have premium or higher, or if you just choose default. Otherwise, you can go over here and choose a specific time of day that you want the message to be sent out as well as the send by feature here. You can choose whether it's sent by email or text. So that's really cool. You can actually mix within a single campaign. You can mix how it's sent out. And this is, again, this specific feature is premium or higher. But you can have an email go out and then maybe a text go out a few hours later that says, hey, I just just wanted to check in, make sure you saw my email. So you can mix that up and make it more interactive. And especially if you have two-way texting, then people can reply to you and really get that interaction that you're looking for. These can all be personalized. You can see there's a tag here. Day 1 marketing 101 for, and then this contact first name. Again, we've got a whole training on the campaigns. One other topic here is if you have like an event, you can actually set up campaigns so that they're based around a given date. So like if you have an event that you're holding and it's on a specific day, you could have the campaign start so that it aligns with the dates. And again, I think we've got a different training on this one. And you'll see some of those, like some of our content provider partners, they are creating campaigns for this. Like for example, I think month of February, maybe I've seen some of them do something for the Valentine's Day season that's very date specific. If people join the campaign late, it only sends them future messages and so on. So those are some advanced settings, but basically campaigns can be added to contacts for automatic outreach. You can either manually add them, or you can connect them to, say, like a landing page or a website page or an event. All those have options to automatically trigger campaigns when somebody registers on them. So you're getting kind of close, wrapping up, or getting close to the end of our time here. So I'm going to go over a couple more features, and then we'll do some Q&A here. Now the other part of it is messaging, and this is where the filtering comes in again. This is essential. So typically your contact manager over time will start to get people that are, maybe they're interested in different things, or some people are leads, some people are members, some people are business builders. This is where you want to make sure that you're messaging the right thing to the right people. So filtering, I'll show you, come in here again. Let's say I want to send a message to my business builders. Awesome. Filter based on that. And I want to send them all mail. So I'll click actions, mail, and then type them out a message. And one of the cool things here is you can send out bulk messages, and the same applies for text as it does for email. But you can send bulk messages, but personalize them. So just click this little speech bubble and then the tag that you want. And I didn't have my cursor in the right spot, so it showed up in the wrong spot, but I'll move this. This works in the subject, it works in the body. How are you doing? Let's see, take a look at this. So yeah, you can personalize it on the way out. So whether you send it to one person or 100 people or 1,000 people, it'll have their name in there. And that improves, like email deliverability, as well as gets their attention a little bit more if it's, if their name is in the email. So that, we do highly recommend messaging the right thing to the right people, so that you're, obviously, like certain monthly promos or whatever might not go out to certain people that are on your list that may not be ready for that, or maybe they would, so it's kind of up to your business strategy there. The other way you can send this out, and I touched on this briefly earlier, is through the tree viewer. If you come over here to this tree viewer and you want to send a message to this leg here, so select them, actions, and then mail, and then just make sure to check the box to mail the downline of each selected contact. And what that's going to do is then just go down and message everyone in that leg with this. And the same principle works with the personalizing of the names and all that, so you can use that tag. One other feature I want to touch on is you do not have to mail them right away. If you're composing something and later on you want to change your, or you're not done with it, you can want to save it, hit save draft. It'll save it to drafts, which shows up under this messages tab. You can schedule it in the future. So if you're a night owl or something and you're working and you don't want to bother people with a text at 2 a.m., you could schedule it out for 11 o'clock in the morning. Choose your time. It'll automatically send it out for you at that time, so you don't have to even think about it. Basically, you can batch up all your marketing work in one segment and spread out your messaging over the month. Like, if, let's say, you wanted to send out emails about the monthly promo, you could certainly, maybe sit down for a period of time, half an hour or something, and write out 4 messages. You'll send them out weekly throughout that month to remind people of what's going on. And you get it all done at once. You don't have to send it now, which is a great time saver too. And we do have some saved replies. I'm not going to go into this too deeply. There's other trainings on that, but those are essentially like pre-written either templates or little snippets of text that you can set up as well. There's some that come with the system. Like this one, for example, is a cute little baby email. But you can, they don't have to be anything spectacular or fancy. They can just be a single sentence if it's something that you do over and over again. Yeah, so that's the messaging. Let me show you texting here quick. It's very similar to email. Sorry, I went through that kind of fast. If you click actions and then click text, that pops up the text box. You can send up to, I think it's 1,600 characters if you have two-way texting. It's a little bit shorter if you don't. And you can attach up to 10 pictures with each text. So it uses the same, basically goes in one, it's sort of like a gallery. It comes across to the other person as a gallery of images rather than 10 separate texts. So, and again, the downline of each selected contact, scheduling, send now, save draft, that all works with texting, same as it does email. And then I guess kind of finally on the contacts, let me find me. I think I'm in here many times. On the contact record, there's a way to add people to your member area. You can do that here. Again, we have some training on this already. So if you're not familiar with this and you want some deeper training, check out our YouTube channel, which if you're watching the replay, you're probably already on, but it's youtube.com/GetOiling is where our YouTube channel is. And we have some trainings there about the member area, what it's for, how it's used. And we also do have some more detailed, if you want to know how specifically to set it up, generally speaking, it's under the member area link under my site is where you would set that up. But we have some training, and the address for that is getoiling.com/member training, where you can get some detailed information on that. But generally, the member area, it's like sort of like having Facebook on your website without actually having the Facebook on there. So it's great for you can essentially set up groups. We call them vaults inside your website. Create private member areas where there's discussion rooms, resource pages, and even classes that you can put there. So that's a super powerful feature. I won't dive into a whole lot here now. And then I think I had teased this at the beginning here too. There are a couple of new features I just wanted to mention. These came from direct feedback from our existing customers. A couple of features there is now, so since I think the beginning of the contact manager, we've had this card view that most of you are familiar with, as well as the tree view. Recently, we added this list view. Some of you coming from more, I guess, traditional contact managers have a list view. It's a very compact way. I think it shows 50 people instead of 20 people. Much easier way to scan. You can still do all your texting, emailing, phone calls, checking out your tags, editing, and all your bulk actions work here as well. So just a slightly different view on that. So that's kind of an exciting new addition. And the other change here is under contact messages, which I haven't gotten into on this call yet, but this is a history of certain types of messages that you've sent. I think it's mostly bulk messages, excuse me, sent to probably, I think, 5 people or more. And there's a few other things. But anyway, previously the 2-column only said view and you had to click through. But now if the number of contacts is 5 or fewer, it's actually going to show the name of the contact who received that message. So it's a nice little time saver that you don't have to click through to see. And if it is sent to a larger group, it'll say something like sent to approximately 200 contacts or whatever. It'll give you a number, and then you can click through and see who it was sent to. So cool. I love new stuff. Now basically it's Q&A time, and I see there's some questions that have shown up over here. So anything popping out to you guys?
Yeah, more along the lines of, you said there was a training on campaigns. Was that on campaigns in general or a specific campaign from Jim? And a lot of our campaigns are also, or a lot of our trainings are also held on getoiling.com/YouTube as well, or excuse me, vice versa. youtube.com/GetOiling to look at past weekly work sessions. And I believe you can even search within that for specific things. And I believe if you type campaigns there, it will pop up some trainings that we've done in the past.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll put in a link for those of you on live here about that. I found that's one of the email or one of the campaigns that we had, or trainings we did on campaigns on our YouTube channel for that. So yeah, awesome. If you're watching the replay, it'll be, just search the YouTube channel for campaigns, and there's a couple of videos that'll pop up there. All right, any other questions here? Okay, so oh, go ahead.
Where can we set up our signature for email?
Great question. I didn't cover that. So there's some other oops, not here. Under contact settings, there are general settings, and there's where you can put your signature. There's a few other settings in here that are probably worth a glance, like if you want your daily activity email, lead notices, default campaigns, and so on. Those are options, but this is mostly where you go to set up your signature. And the signature will, so 2 things. One, if you probably noticed that when I was sending a message through the contact manager, I'll just go in here and click on this one. It automatically shows up here. The signature is also automatically added to the bottom of every outgoing campaign email that's sent. So you don't have to like repeat that when you're setting up a campaign. That lets you get, that gives you the flexibility of changing the signature later in the future. And then let's say you've got 25 campaigns written, then you don't have to go back and update all those campaigns. You just update that in one place, update your signature, and then it'll update on all future campaign messages that haven't been sent.
Genevieve asks, is there a way to send test emails to myself before using marketing credits?
Without using them, not currently, although it does only use 1 credit. So yeah, you'd have to create a contact for yourself, which actually, if you import from Young Living, they include a contact for yourself. So anyway, create a contact for yourself and then send a test email there. And that segues a little bit into the save replies, which I probably should touch on a little bit more. So under contact settings are these save replies that I was showing you earlier. So this is like if you want to do a test email to yourself, a saved reply would be a great way to do that. Essentially what it is just a subject and a body, and you can type it all out here, and then you can go to the contact manager and apply it like I was showing you earlier. So if I go over to manage and I want to test it, then I can click in where I want it, choose my saved reply, and then there it is. It'll automatically insert. And so then you'd send it to yourself and test it out that way. But it does use a credit right now. There is a wish list item at the moment to have like a send test email to me button somewhere too.
James asks, can you send sway video slash videos in a campaign?
Yes, the caveat is that you can't send the email directly. So like if you notice when you're composing an email here, as opposed to like when if you're editing a blog post where you can put a video in there, there's no insert video button. So what that means is, or why that is most email programs, Gmail, Yahoo, Outlook, all those email programs, they don't allow videos to be embedded in email. So the workaround for that is insert an image that looks like a video. So I'll just grab an image here out of the image library. I probably have something in here. And then you can click the link and then put a link to the video in there. So that's how you would get people to click through. Same would be for text, although you can't make, when you're sending a text, you can't make images clickable, at least in terms of going to a link. So you just have to put a link to the video directly in your text. But that's how you would do it. And sways are the same way. Those can't be embedded right into a video or into an email reliably. Some programs work, some don't. So you're better off like emailing or texting a link to the sway through a campaign if you're going to do that. But yeah, I think we have some of our content partners have done that as well. I think they've created some campaigns. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure they have some campaigns that link to sways.
We've got two people asking about what are credits?
Yeah, so marketing credits, they're used to send emails and text out of your system. So every month, depending on the number of depending on the plan that you have, you get a certain number of marketing credits per month, and that allows you to send emails and text. Just this two examples, like right now anyway, the basic plan gives you 6,000 marketing credits per month. Premium gives you 12,000 per month. Those automatically renew. You can always add on more. They're pretty inexpensive under the My Plan area of, under My Account. There's a settings in the My Plan, which is where you would add on add on more credits. But so emails use one credit per recipient. So if you send an email to 100 people, that uses 100 credits. Texting, it varies. There's actually a little credit calculator when you send a text here and I start typing. It'll show you how many credits it uses. It's relatively complicated. That's why there's a credit calculator there. This is the pricing for US and Canada. So for example, in US and Canada, when you're sending to those people anyway, people in those countries, it uses 15 credits per text message. That's up to, I think, 160 characters or something like that. As you exceed that length, it does increase in credits. Unless you add a picture, then it puts it at 40 credits, no matter how many images you have in there. Or sorry, no matter how many characters you have in your text message. So anyway, and again, that's per recipient. So it'll show you a total. Like if you had 2, it would show 30 here instead of 15. So that's kind of the concept. It allows you to plan out, anything that you need messaging wise. And like I said, you can add on more. They're pretty inexpensive, but each plan comes with a certain amount.
Do credits roll over month to month?
Not currently.
Where do we find how many we have? Asked Susan.
Yes, good question. So that's under My Account settings. And I don't know if this demo account will have that on here. Under My Plan, there's here. So it gives you your usage. Like this person's on the plan that has, should be 12,000 credits, but for some reason this one is. And it shows you how many are used, how many are available. If you want detailed usage history, you can go here and click it. It'll actually then show you how many emails and text messages that you sent during that month as well, going back. And then any credits available, if you had changed plans or added credits on over the time. So that's where you would find that under the My Plan feature.
Do we get notified if about to go over? Susan asks.
I think so. There is a reminder script that I think, or a reminder email, that goes out. I think it's 90%. I'd have to double check. But as you get close,
I believe it is 90%.
Okay. Yeah, when you get close, it starts doing that. It'll start reminding you, give you an email.
Okay, and then Eileen says, when we import contacts and it updates current contacts, is there a way to keep our edits that we've previously fixed? For example, they have a middle initial that we have manually deleted, so it doesn't show up in correspondence.
Not currently. This is a wish list item to be able to, address that somehow. I think name is one of the more common fields for that. So we've got a couple of ideas that we're thinking about, but it's on our wish list right now. The other option would be to, I guess, not import them, but you probably want the other updates too. So.
Okay. Corinne asks, when you send out a campaign via text using two-way texting, say the campaign has 5 messages with photos, will each message to each person in the campaign use marketing credits? For example, if you sent the campaign to 10 people with marketing credits, be used for 50 messages.
Yes, if you have a campaign that has 5 messages sent to 10 people, that would ultimately be the same as sending 50 messages.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
it'd be the same as like sending a bulk text with 50 people.
I've recently registered for 2 different events on my downline members GetOiling site. I was sent the new person campaign for each email for each registration. Is there a setting to stop that from happening? Must the checkbox be unchecked each time for email text? If so, that seems a bit unclear.
It sounds like this might be an issue with the event setup. So if they're using the events feature, so I'll dive into here quick. So click on manage. When you're setting up the event, and I added it here, there is a setting for what campaign they want to use. And so there's a campaign called no campaign. I don't know if you can see that here. There's a campaign called no campaign that you would use, and then you can save it, or whatever, a different one. It's usually best to send something out like, hey, thanks for registering for my event. By default, I think it is this one here. So if you don't do anything, you just set up an event and you don't choose something, it's going to use the default campaign, which is that prospects campaign. So I do highly recommend changing that if you're setting up an event. The same thing really goes for any landing page that you might set up or any other place that there's lead capture. It's worth the effort to send or to create a campaign that just, even if it only has one message in there that just has something relevant to what it is that they registered for.
Which video will train me how to set up a text code to have people enter through my phone number to request a class?
Okay. I'm sure that campaign video that we mentioned earlier has that, but I can show you that here briefly too. When you're setting up a campaign, again, under contact settings and then campaigns, you'll see that some of these have a keyword column here. When you're either, say, like creating a new campaign or editing the existing one, there's two ways to edit the campaign. If you click the actual label of the campaign name, it takes you to edit the messages. But either by clicking this edit campaign details link over here in the corner, or if I go back to the previous screen and click this little pencil, it'll take me to a different screen that has the options for text in keywords. So a quick note, the text in is available on or if you have two-way texting set up on your account. And what two-way texting is, that gives you your own phone number, which lets people text into you, which then also unlocks all of these fields here about text in keywords, opt-out keywords, vault access, sending speed, all that fun stuff that you get with two-way texting. It also gives you a neat little chat client or a chat program that looks like this, that also works on your phone, which lets you text back and forth. Any messages that you send through chat don't actually use marketing credits when you have two-way texting, so that's a really valuable feature. Basically, all the one-on-one texting that's through the chat is free. It doesn't cost you anything. It comes with that $9 a month two-way texting add-on. It also shows you your number here. When you get to, and it also includes calling. You can call people through that as well. So basically, to go back and answer the question, under settings, campaigns, and you edit the campaign, you can put in your texting keyword, and what that'll do is then automatically, so if somebody types in training to this person's number, it's going to then start texting back. Oops, let me edit the emails here. It'll start replying with these messages by text. So that's a great way to send classes. Some of our content partners have have those classes available, and that you can, and I think they even, a lot of them have the keyword already loaded up and ready to go. Now, one note is if you do have more than one campaign with the same keyword, it's going to send all of them. So if you get duplicates on something, you'll know what's going on there. Make sure you don't have any, you don't have two campaigns or multiple campaigns with the same keyword. So.
Okay, Karen Smith says, I'm super confused about vaults. If there's a training on those, can you point me to that? I need to watch a training on that. And that was that member training that we had put into the chat, the getoiling.com/member training. Should help with that, correct?
Yes, and there's also on our YouTube channel, we did a training called How to Create a Community to Grow as well, that I'll put in here into the chat as well. Let me make sure that's visible to all of you. But this is an excellent training on the kind of high level concepts. The getoiling.com/member training is great for the detailed, how do you set it up. And this YouTube video I put in there is more about the concepts.
Okay, if someone opts out from text, is that automatically updated in the system, or do I need to go into the record and uncheck the box for texting so they don't receive them in the future?
Yeah, if they reply with stop, it automatically opts them out. I believe there's a message that's sent to them like, hey, you have to type start to resume, something like that, and then basically you don't have to worry about it. It will uncheck them. Now, one little detail with that, like if you're editing, let me go back in here and I'll show you. So in the case when somebody, this really only works with email, but I'll show you where these settings are. When you're editing the contact, these are your opt-out settings. So like if people are opted into email and text, which is by default, then most of these, or then they'll both be checked. But if somebody opts out of text or opts out of email, the box will be not checked. So in the case of email, it is possible to automatically, or to opt them back in by coming in here and checking the box. Like somebody calls you and says, oops, I clicked the link, how do I get back on? You can come in here and check them. Now texting does not work like that. The mobile phone carriers, once someone replies stop, it like blacklists this number for at a certain level that you can't even send them text. So even if you'd come and check this box again, it would just bounce back as saying undelivered. So the person for texting would have to type start in order for that to resume. So there's something to keep in mind there.
Okay, so you can't send photos via the chat, correct?
Right, that's a wish list item that we have, is to add that. You have to do that through the contact manager.
The campaigns that show copy of copy are ones that you have personalized a default campaign. Is that correct?
Yes. So again, this is a demo account, so there's probably some, silly stuff in here, but these ones that say copy of copy of copy, that means I've hit copy on some of them multiple times, and then but yeah, they are. What they do is they originated from one of these built-in campaigns down here that says created by GetOiling. I clicked on this little copy icon, and then notice it automatically says copy of, and then I must have copied it again and copied it again or something like that. But yeah, those originated from one of the built-in ones. And that's how you would modify a built-in one. If you see one that you like, but you want to personalize it, you come in here and click copy, and then you would use that wherever it is that you're using the campaigns.
Looks like the last question here, Vera. Speaking of landing pages, I've shared leg builder links for new builders. Thanks for that feature. When their people get click and so on, I then get a message and I have no way of knowing who they are. For instance, did they stumble upon my website, or they are the prospect of the new builder, and which new builder, or am I missing something?
Mm-hmm. So with the leg builder link, oh, go ahead. Was there more?
Nope, go ahead.
Okay. Anyway, so so the leg builder links, for those of you who don't know, what they do is they give you a special link to your website. It's your website, but it has any place that there's a Young Living sign up link or a Young Living product link, it passes along, say, your builder's member number instead, so they get credit for it. So a great way to get somebody started into building without them having to invest in a website until their business kind of takes off a little bit. But within the leg builder links, Vera, that might be worth sending an email to support at GetOiling to maybe figure that out a little bit more. But what it should be doing when somebody views one of these leg builder links and they contact you, whoops, I guess I customized that menu. But if they use this contact me button and they fill out this form, or if they register on the landing page and this one doesn't have a landing page set up, either of those should identify somewhere in the email or the alert that's sent to you that says this came from Leg Builder link, and it'll have the name of the Leg Builder link in there. So if something else is going on, certainly let us know and we'll look into it. Maybe there's something else that you're referring to, but we'll get it figured out if that's the case.
Yeah, and the one thing that I had even suggested to somebody that had contacted in support is to actually make a specific landing page when you are using landing pages for your builders, because then at least, and because then you can add tags to those landing pages that are specific that will go into that person, because then you will know specifically who of the leg builders that you have given out is, for which one, essentially, right? So if you are just only using that one landing page specifically for that leg builder link, then you're going to know, okay, this leg builder link is for Susan, and I know that I'm going to have to give that contact to Susan so that she knows that, hey, this person did register on your landing page. That way it will try to help you keep organized as well, and you're not second guessing of who should I give this to, and so on. You have specifically designated a specific landing page to that person.
Yeah, that's a great idea to keep them organized, because then they're tagged with that builder. So cool. All right, what else?
Lots of great features. You guys have thought of everything. Great, easy to do, fantastic. I see the grow campaigns in there. Can I add more of the grow campaigns myself? I don't know if we want to give them our link in case.
We have a couple of content partners right now. We're Grow Workspace and Modern Companion, and they create content that plugs right into your GetOiling account. Essentially, they give you a link in wherever that those people, Grow or Modern Companion, are distributing their content. They'll give you a link and it'll copy the campaign into your account. So yeah, if you do go to, and this is actually even if you just go to getoiling.com, you can get links to this as well. Probably the easiest thing, scroll down a little ways, and there's the content partner section. These links will get you to their site, and if you don't have an account with them, certainly go check it out, sign up, and then you'll get their content and you can pull it into your account. So if you don't want to create a lot of this stuff, the material yourself, they provide great starting points for you, complete classes. There's all sorts of good content that they provide too. So yeah, these are the best places to go. Just go to getoiling.com and scroll down to these two areas, or this area where we have our content partners right now.
Yeah, Susan, there is a fee for any of our content providers. They are not part of, we do not own them, and they do not own GetOiling, you know what I mean? So they are a separate company on their own. So there are fees that they do charge.
They're totally worth it for the time you save. That's for sure. So unless you love writing. If you love writing, awesome. So cool.
All right, I think we are good.
Awesome. Yeah, if there's any other.
Oh, and
two more questions.
There's a couple more questions. Okay. In your first video on YouTube, you're encouraged to require people to register on a landing page. I'm wondering if requiring a name and email address might scare people away. Are there statistics that would suggest otherwise? Not sure which option to choose.
Mm-hmm. So with this one, I think it really depends on who you're marketing to, who your people are. Some communities are more open to that than others. So basically, the short answer is try a few different things. There's three really options for that. So I think what she's talking about is under the Customize My Site link, there's an option here to choose a landing page that sits in front of your website that people have to register on before they go in there. Now, you don't have to do that. You can turn it on or you can turn it off. But there's a third option that isn't as easy to set up, but it's doable. there is a way of creating a custom page that has a pop-up on it. So the page comes up, and then, you know, whether they try to go away or maybe they scroll down a certain percentage, it'll pop up and ask them to register. So that's kind of like a middle ground. We did a training on that. You can find that. Click the help button in the GetOiling back office here in the corner, and then scroll down to the 90-day challenge week 9. There's a training in here. This is basically an hour-long training on the page builder that would show you how to do that if you want to create a custom homepage for your website. And that's that would let you do that other option where you can pop it up. And the other cool thing about that is then you can make the website about you. You're the brand. So there's all sorts of good about it, but it does require a little bit of work to set it up. So, but this is the training to watch if you really want to check out the page builder and do something a little bit different with your pop-up. It's kind of the interim option. A lot of people have been going with that way lately because it's not quite as restrictive as like, oh, you must register to get in, but it also, you know, it also does encourage some lead capture too. Yeah, so Bertha asked, what's the best explanation I can give to someone when asked why they need to access the page in order to get in the website? Basically just so, you know, as a small bit, I mean, this would probably be something Ashley could answer better than me, but first thing that comes to mind is, you know, as like a small business owner, it's helpful for me to be able to provide the best customer service if I know who's visiting my website. There's probably 50 other answers out there too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and to how that you can best serve them as well, because if you know who's visiting your website, then you will be able to best serve them better, because if you are in touch with them, then you will know exactly what they need versus everything that might be on your website, you know, so you can better hone in on what the needs of the people that are visiting your site are.
mm-hmm. Yep. Cool. Sounds good.
Okay, so yes, that page would be in replace of a landing page that Greg was talking about. You would create a custom page with a pop-up.
Mm-hmm. The custom page builder, of course, there's that training there just to point you in the general direction. It's under My Site Settings, Custom Pages. You'll need that in conjunction with the site menu to set that as the default of your website. But there's a few different websites. Hopefully these people won't mind us showing them, but here's an example of that. Here's somebody who's built a custom site with GetOiling, and I can't remember how the pop-up is triggered, but at some point, yeah, there we go. Okay, so pops up a box. I tried to move my mouse away, and that's how she must have it set up. It pops up a box. You know, she's able to customize this and ask for her email. So, or ask for your email, the visitor's email. So that's kind of the interim option there, and without having to like block them with a landing page. And there's plenty of examples. The box is totally customizable. You can even, that one was like a blog sign up. Here's another person that I'm aware of where I think it's like, whoops. Oh no, she must have removed the pop-up on that one. Oh, here it is. Okay, so there's a pop-up. So you can customize the pop-up. You can choose the fields that are on there. So there's definitely some different options available to you when you go the custom page builder approach. Cool. Well, I think that's it. Thanks everyone. It went a little long today, but appreciate your patience. So have a great day. It was great having you here.
Such a big topic.
It's a huge topic.
All right, guys. Thank you. Have a great Thursday.
Bye.